Welcome to the Global Gaming Business Podcast, the industry's first and longest running podcast, now in our 19th year. This podcast is sponsored by ICE Barcelona, January 20th through 22nd, 2025 at the Fira Barcelona Gran Via. ICE Barcelona is the complete platform to drive revenues through innovative solutions, technology, valuable insights, and unrivaled networking opportunities. To learn more, visit icegaming.com.
My guest today is Jennifer Fales. She's the Vice President of Global Brand Licensing and Social Casino for IGT. Jennifer, it's great to have you here, and it's great to be able to talk to one of our emerging leaders of gaming. You're one of our early classes of that.
Yes.
And we're glad we're right on the money that you're still an important executive.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So tell us about your career path, how you got to IGT, and why you stayed there so long.
I started in the gaming industry right after college. I was born and raised in South Louisiana. I went to school in New Orleans, and Harris in New Orleans was one of the businesses that came to Tulane recruiting.
Right.
There was one financial analyst position. I think about 100 people applied, and I landed the job, and it wasn't something that immediately drew me, but once I got in, I was hooked.
Yeah.
After about a year and a half in New Orleans, I moved into a corporate finance role here in Las Vegas, and then at several different positions at Caesars, spanning development, brand management, finance, and in 2012 came to IGT as Chief of Staff to our president, and spent some time doing that, and then jumped into marketing, and then into licensing, and now also social gaming. So everything has always had a bit of a connective tissue, even though it's been a bit of a random career path as well.
Great. So we did a cover story recently on IGT, and we were talking about the most successful slot game in the history of gaming, which of course is the Wheel of Fortune. You've kept that going for all these years. You've changed things up, made it fresh, but this time you're really doing something different. Explain where we're going with that.
Yeah, so about a year and a half ago, I guess, we announced our new deal with Sony. So starting January 1st, we have another 10-year agreement with Sony Pictures for the Wheel of Fortune license. And one of the things we did during this negotiation or discussion with Sony was really building in the ability to expand into new product lines. So specifically, what you'll see here at G2E is Wheel of Fortune in the video poker space, Wheel of Fortune in the VLT space, and Wheel of Fortune in BTG. So really looking to expand on our Class 3 premium and also some of our specialty into these three new verticals. Right.
Well, VLTs are important because that's in a lot of states run by the lottery commissions there. So do you have to make a special deal with the lottery commission at that point, or?
We commercialize Wheel of Fortune the same way we do in other Class 3. So we look forward to, this is the debut, so we look forward to seeing what the reception is.
So I'm interested to see how it would work with video poker. I mean, they don't seem to be very similar, but obviously you figured out a way to do it.
The DNA of the game, especially the base game, is traditional video poker. We found ways to bring in the most iconic element of Wheel of Fortune, which is the wheel spin and solving a puzzle. So the base game plays very traditionally as poker, and dealt winning hands get letters. The letters fill up a puzzle board. A puzzle solved puzzle triggers a wheel spin. So, it's a nice hybrid of what's very traditional to Wheel of Fortune and also video poker.
Oh, that's interesting. So they can play video poker just the way they normally play it, especially because it's kind of a skill game. If you know how to play it correctly, you can bring down the house edge. But how do you build them into the Wheel of Fortune, and that it's kind of a bonus game, I think.
Basically it is. It is with a winning hand, you award the letters. And as letters accumulate and you solve a puzzle, it does. It triggers a wheel spin. So, traditional base game is Wheel of Fortune, or is video poker, with added Wheel of Fortune sort of elements. But not looking to completely change the way video poker plays, because we know that there's a very specific player looking for a very specific experience. So
the pay table is the first thing I look at anyway. The only slot game I'll play, but it's fun. So you've had a lot of different setup for the Wheel of Fortune. I've seen the community game. You've had 2-seaters, and what do you have up your sleeve now for the game?
So this year at G2E, you'll see 3 new premium form factors. One of them is a community style game. So thinking back probably 10-15 years, we had something called Super Spin, and they were large format 9-seater games, big wheel. Obviously, knowing that footprint and space is a little bit of a different situation now. We've really looked to create a 3-seater with a wheel that spans both, and kind of modernize that Super Spin into a community type game. We're also launching Wheel of Fortune on our Skyrise cabinet, which we debuted last year with Whitney Houston. And then we are bringing our Diamond RS into the Wheel of Fortune space as well. So quite a bit of new hardware, and more than a dozen new games.
Sure, that's exciting for sure. So let's talk about your partnership with Sony. They own the brand. So when you develop a new game, how does that work? Do Sony executives come in and you just show it to them, or do they actually work hand in hand with you to do that?
We work hand in hand with Sony. They know the brand better than anybody, but we also know gaming best. So we each kind of, it's a great partnership of strengths and capabilities. So we typically 2 or 3 times during the game development process, we meet with Sony. We talk about the game at a conceptual phase, a midpoint when we do player focus groups, and then we do a final submission. So throughout the process, we're showing them the game, showing them the artwork, and talking about the features and the mechanics, and they approve each step of the way. So it's a great partnership and collaboration.
Okay, great. Over the years, Pat Sajak and Dana White have been identified with the Wheel of Fortune. Well, now Pat Sajak has retired, and Ryan Seacrest is doing the nighttime version of Wheel of Fortune. Can you expect to see him here at some point promoting the Wheel of Fortune games?
Yep. So Ryan launched what Wheel of Fortune is called their new era. I think it was September 9th or 8th. He started his co-hosting with Vanna. And we're excited to see where the show goes and what the future holds. We haven't announced any new talent deals, but it's something that we're actively discussing. And it could be very interesting. We've had a great partnership with Vanna. So it could be something that we see in the future.
Ryan seems to be open to anything these days, so I wouldn't expect him to turn that down for sure.
Yeah, he really does have his hands in a lot of different things.
Right. So tell us about the Wheel of Fortune game in a social casino setting. Does it work the same?
Yeah, so what we do in our social space is we take the best land-based and online games, generally, both Wheel of Fortune and other, and we port those into the social space. Our value proposition for social is games players know and love from your casino floor. Again, whether that be land-based or digital. So, it's pretty much a port because the idea is that a player will play it and see it on a casino floor, and then they'll look for it in social. We want that experience. We want that continuity. So it's all part of this omni-channel experience.
So you're also very successful in the iGaming space for real money. Wheel of Fortune is one of the games that everybody seems to have. What other brands, IGT brands, seem to resonate online?
In the online space, we've done quite a bit with game shows. So Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, $25,000 Pyramid, Price is Right. We are launching now our Whitney game, our Whitney Houston game, and online as well. So it's a dynamic where we know that there is a player overlap. But we also, I think, see a bigger presence of brands in the land-based space. But we do definitely have a very large part of our license portfolio that spans both channels.
Okay. So what does IGT look for when they're looking for brands? A lot of brands come out and they fall flat on their face, but IGT brands seem to resonate longer than others. So what do you look for, and what's that process look like?
Yeah, so first and foremost, we look for a brand that we think will appeal to our player demographic. So we tend to pick brands that have a broad appeal, that we know hit that sweet spot of a slot player. But that still leaves a very wide net.
Sure.
So really, what it comes down to is our creative studios and our R&D teams, and do they have a passion for the brand? Do they have an idea of how they would marry mechanics and math models with that brand. Is there something inherent in the brand that is, gaming? Is there something that would marry well with a 3-pot persistence?
Right.
So it's really that creative passion, along with player demographics, and then also asset availability.
Right.
There are a lot of brands that might check the other 2 boxes, but may not come with a lot of assets. You really need a good base of assets to work with as well, so that our studios have what they need to really bring the brand to life in a gaming space.
So you mentioned the math models. I've talked to game designers, and they swear the success is all math. It doesn't matter what's on the reels, but obviously that's not true. So how do you work with them to get the brand to work as well as it could?
Yeah, so really what we look at is what are successful math models and mechanics, and what brands might marry well with those. So the secret of how it all comes together, that is purely our game design team,
Right. Sure.
And their cycle, their R&D approach. But we really try before we select a brand to find something that they have a passion for or have an idea already.
Right.
So we leave it to them, but we usually go into most of our licensing deals with them having vetted and already having a concept before we sign a license.
So when you're looking at a brand, do you talk to your game designers first about what can we do with this brand before you even approach the people that own the brand?
Yeah, usually we start with a licensor. It works both ways, but usually we like to know what is available. We try to look at demographics, we look at social media stats, and then after what I would call a first blush, evaluation, then we'll go to our studios. We love when our studios bring brands to us, so it works both ways. Really, depending on the time, the space, it really works both ways.
Right. So last year you introduced your Whitney Houston slot, and you're coming out with another one. That seems to have been a very successful brand as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The game debuted at #1 new video app on the iLearns report. We're very excited about Game 1. Still building our install base, but doing very well. We had some exciting launches with Yamava and Island Casino and Hard Rock Atlantic City. And now we're showing Game 2 here at G2E this year. Game 2 is, I love the color palette, I love the look and feel. It's a 3-pot persistence game, but it's the neon of the 80s and 90s. So the color palette I find to be very engaging, and for me, very much what I associate with Whitney Houston.
One last question: what can we expect from IGT when it comes to branded games and expansion of the current brands in the next few years?
I think that we'll continue to see a lot of Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune is obviously a backbone of our premium portfolio. We do have some new things that are cooking and coming, and we'll be very excited to debut at G2Es in the future. But, more to come.
Just stay tuned, I guess.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Well, Jennifer, thanks for joining us, and again, congratulations for building such a great career and proving us right when we picked you as an emerging leader.
Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for having me.
Great, thank you.
Hope you enjoyed today's podcast, sponsored by ICE Barcelona, January 20th through 22nd, 2025 at Fira Barcelona Gran Via. ICE Barcelona is the complete platform to drive revenues through innovative solutions, technology, valuable insights, and unrivaled networking opportunities. To learn more, visit icegaming.com. To read more about the topics presented in this week's podcast, visit ggbmagazine.com. To subscribe to GGB's executive summary, go to ggbnews.com and sign up. Don't miss any edition of the GGB podcast. Subscribe on Spotify, Amazon, or Apple Podcasts today. So we'll see you next time on the GGB podcast.